I got concerns with some other people.
And then we have to appoint one about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to resolution for a, let's wait, a few questions I still have to ask. Nationwide is not that.
They do a great job.
I'm not gonna stay there.
All right, everybody, I'll call the January 17th meeting of the Finance Committee to order. Everybody that's present, if you please sign in before you, and there's also agendas here on the end of the aisle. So, is anyone recording this meeting? Ralph, you raised your hand?
No, I just fixed my hat.
You just did it, okay, all right, so,
Hi. I'm in the auction board.
right, so, you want to say your name?
Matt Emmershy, 3612.
Okay, so we're gonna hear you tonight. All right. All right, so we are recording, so do not touch anything, John.
Matt, you mind if I turn you a little bit? Can't see the people on the corner here.
It'll swivel right on that.
There you go.
All right. All right, so the first item is public participation. Is there anybody that wants to discuss anything that's not already on the agenda? So we have Rich Roy, you have the, is there enough room up there, Rich?
Yes, I should
I
not,
could tell you behind the disguise, it was still you.
I don't want to infect the microphone, so.
Okay.
Did I understand you, that we should not discuss anything on the, this is an agenda
This is a
item.
public hearing, so yeah, you can discuss what's on the.
Rich Roy, 55 St. James Avenue in Westfield.
Yeah.
Just a comment or two on item number 4 in your agenda tonight. I'm going to pull this a little closer if you don't mind. There's no TV, right? So I think that's on.
No, just to pick up the sound.
Okay. Peter Coles and I go back a long way in this region's media business. I believe we share a mutual respect for each other, and that's all good. I'm here on behalf of the cable ratepayers in Westfield, whose money this item number 4 is about. And it would be easier if it were someone other than Pete Coles, but it is what it is. There were several people interviewed, and his name is the one put forward after the advertising and interviewing process, according to what we've been told. And I believe it, no problem there. Please be sure, if you would, that the job has been officially created. Please be sure that the job has been officially created yet before you vote regarding this agenda item number 4. I know that your subcommittee is going to decide whether to move the money from the so-called PEG fund into I assume full-time account. But if the job hasn't been created yet, and maybe the cart is getting before the horse. I've been trying like crazy since before the MLK weekend to get a copy of the job description without any success. In fact, the personnel department, probably at the behest of the law department, told me that I had to through a third party, that I had to file a public records request to get a copy of the job description for the media system specialist, but I don't think that should be necessary. The matter is still in the city council, for goodness sake. It's in subcommittee. I shouldn't have had to sue them to get a copy of the job description, and I still don't have it. And it doesn't appear that any of you have it on your council shares or anywhere. So we don't know too much detail about this position, or so it seems. More importantly, you all don't. I prefer to, you all meaning all 13 city councilors, I'd prefer to be here to comment on our property tax hike, but those of us citizens, cable ratepayers and taxpayers can't control the agenda and when and how things happen, so we've got to talk about it now because it's out here now, and tomorrow's Thursday. It's going to pack tomorrow, and then it could go to city council tomorrow night, and bada bing, it's all done. And again, it doesn't appear that I think there's a lot of we don't knows that before this thing is finished up that quickly. In my opinion, there should be no management duties like deciding who gets a public access program and who does not. And again, the job description would tell whether or not this is a management position, or it seems to me that it should be that it is, in the way it's been described, a technician type position. Make sure everything's set up, make sure everything's ready to go before each meeting, make sure the mic checks are done, and be involved in purchases and whatnot, discussions about purchases and whatnot, but not making management decisions regarding who gets program. In fact, in my experience in public access, the rules are, there are no rules. As long as there's no profanity, nudity, obscenity, or slander, you can, a citizen, a member of the public can have a program on whatever they want. And that also goes for teachers with their schools who have a project and they want to record it and put it on public access. That's the education piece of it. And there's a lot more examples of that. And the government has access to the cable viewers for meetings and other programs they'd like to, the city government would like to present to the viewers, and that should be the extent of it. The extent of it. And again,
you'll be here when we discuss item 4, right?
I'll be here. What?
I said you'll be here in a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to try to. Yeah.
You'll be able to.
Yeah.
You'll be able to ask even a question, and you have a few people that can
Sure.
answer some of those questions as well.
Good. We don't know why Comcast was ever asked some years ago, why don't you just give us the money? Comcast used to do the cable access. Why don't you just give us the money and we'll do it? And I don't know what public process took place to have that happen, but that seems to be what we do now and have been doing for at least a decade or two, I don't know, quite a long time. And look at Channel 15 and Channel 12 now. They're TV wastelands. We haven't done it. And this is not my, you can ask members of the Cable Commission. I've been there multiple times saying the same thing. Ms. Bernash, who runs the Technology Center, was at one of the last Cable Commission meetings that I spoke at, and she could tell you that I voiced a concern about the subcommittee meetings, et cetera. It's not just how they look, it's how they sound. Getting them to get people to be able to understand what people are saying is going to be just as, if not more important than what it looks. I think we may be biting off more than we can chew here. I think I speak for most citizens and taxpayers that what we want our city government to be doing is city government. Finance, essential services, not getting into television. And I could transpose that into gas and electric too, but I won't.
Mr. Would you ask you for some any requests or questions in writing? Because we have to get through the meeting, we only have a limited amount of time.
Yep, okay, and you've given me plenty of time so far. And Westfield State University, in my opinion, is not off the hook yet, but again, I'm out of time. I wrote it right there. I knew I'd be out of time right about there. Because they are supposed to be quote-unquote partners. If you watch the cable access program, you say a partnership between Westfield State University and the city of Westfield. Well, you know, where are they with the money to help pay for this? And there's going to be more expenses down the road with this. It's not. I believe we're maybe getting into something biting something that we can't chew. And maybe Comcast ought to be doing this like they used to be. And they are the ship and we will steer the ship. And if they're not giving us the quality that they agreed to, then we can turn the screws on them. But we're starting a television department here. And I just thought, as unprepared as I was because I'm not well, I should just come and say that, and I'll try to stick around.
Thank you.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
While you're here, I did get your email too. I haven't had time to look at that.
Oh, thanks. Okay. Yeah, I knew.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, may I say something?
Yes.
Friday afternoon, Mr. Roy called me. I responded extremely shortly after he called. I had a conversation with the personnel department. The personnel department conferred with the law department. He was given a response in email form. He called me on Monday. I returned his call. Or he tried to call Mr. Emmershy. Mr. Emmershy contacted me, and I called him again and talked with him. So he has had a reply at me.
Well, thank you, Councilor Harris. Now, may I ask you a question on this? Are you still working on that job description, or is the mayor still
He's
working?
coming in tomorrow for this job that we, as a council, do not have to approve. It's not a department head. It's been approved by the mayor, the personnel director, by the law department, by the Mark St. James, and another person. And it's been approved. There's been interviews. There were several applications. There were 3 interviews, and he has been designated as the person who is most qualified for this position.
Okay, thank you. So there is a description pretty much for the job itself. I don't think this.
The personnel
Thank you.
director and the law department.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Is there anybody else? What?
I do a follow-up question. So if there is a job description, why is he being told that he has to file a freedom of information?
Not the Freedom of Information
Public
Act, it's the public records. The new public records law requires us to document when people ask for records, keep a running
I know
spreadsheet.
that, but why, it's a public job posting, why does he have to?
It's not a job posting at this point, the job has been posted and advertised, it's a document. To document, we're treating everything the same way, so we don't run afoul of the requirements of the law.
It says, search was conducted in this position by placing advertising in the Westfield News, so wouldn't the job be?
That's
in the Westfield
happened,
News?
though.
So can you get it out of the Westfield News?
I don't know where he get it, if he wants it from the city of Westfield, he has to follow the public record process.
So what do the ads in Westfield News say?
I don't read the Westfield News, I can't.
It's just the posting. It's a limited.
To a link on a website, or?
No, it's the posting. It's a posting, which is a condensed description of the job.
Yeah.
And then there's the job description at every position with the city.
It's not on the city website? So why not, why would we do that if we have people?
I don't know any of this stuff, and quite frankly, I don't know it was on the agenda tonight. I'm just telling you, generally speaking, I don't know where else it might be in the world, but if there's a request to a department head, they've all been instructed to get it to Robin so she can
Well, I
enter it
understand
into a
that part, but
spreadsheet.
what I'm thinking is, why would a job description ever have to go through that process? They should all be public and posted.
They don't stay there forever. They stay there when a job's being posted, is my understanding. Not every job description in the city remains on your website forever.
None of the job description to that was.
No.
But shouldn't they be on the website to attract a better audience? I mean,
I can't discuss that with
I
you.
know.
I don't have, I may have a personal opinion, but that's not a legal question.
and I wasn't really asking legal, I just wondered why a job description, you would think, should be public record.
Well,
I couldn't find it on this.
I know.
Right.
What if we have friends that want to bid on it? How would they find out what the job description is? Have to make phone calls and come and visit the city hall just to apply for a job? It seems like a very.
The job's already been taken.
I
It was
know,
posted.
but in general,
Right, but it was posted, jobs are in
she said it wasn't, the job description wasn't posted, just a little blurb of it.
Your question was, how would people know? People would know because they'd see what she posted, and they'd come and ask for it. And at that point, it would not be a public record because it was during the
Right.
posting period. But this is past that posting period, which changes it from a job description. Your scenario, you see the posting and you say to your friend, why don't you come and apply for this job? They go to the personnel department. At that point, they would be handed the job description. It wouldn't be a public record because it's part of a posting that has a beginning and an end
So
date.
the process is anybody who applies for a job in the city has to contact the HR department to get the job description? That seems like a strange policy.
I don't know. I'm not saying that's your policy, but I was answering your question. How would people know?
All right, I'll follow up with you. All right, thanks.
Okay. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak regarding public participation? Councilor Morgan.
Thank you. Good evening. Nick Morganelli, 34 Prospect Street. Just a word. Last night at the planning board meeting, there were some people that couldn't hear very well, and these microphones are very sensitive. If you stand back here, up 12 to 18 inches away, they really don't pick it up. But if you're about 6 inches away, the microphones pick it up. And for those on the recording here, and for when we broadcast through Channel 15, it's very helpful to have the volume of everyone speaking like this rather than like this. So I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Anyone else? Seeing none, we will close the section of public participation. Okay. So, item number 1 is the transfer of $1,807 from the current FY18 Department of Public Works Division Purchase of Service account to the FY17 Department of Public Works Wastewater Division Purchase of Services account. And do you want to do one item? Do you want to both items?
Yeah, I'll cover them.
Okay. And so item 2 is a transfer of $2,450 from the current FY18 budget water division the prior year FY17 DPW purchase of service account.
All right, the first one is there's 2 wastewater bills. One is, it was actually $44.42. It came in as a water bill. It was actually a wastewater bill, so it was in the wrong file. So when they put the carryover numbers in, there wasn't enough money to pay it. This is one of the ones we're really going to take a look at. There wasn't enough money to pay it by 25 cents. And now we're here with carryover. So it's $44.42, and we close it, so we need the 25 cents back in there. So those are one we need to take a hard look at. I mean, it's 25 cents. We're here because of 25 cents on that one, so.
Some of the last finance committee couldn't move on this one. I'm not sure where the 25 cents comes in, but.
The 25 cents is,
I know there's a picture on one of these figures.
yeah, there was 25 cents short to pay that bill.
And you couldn't throw it in?
You can't, no, because you're in, again, that's why we need to take a look at, because you're in that period, you're in that carryover period.
Right.
So you can't, you set aside a certain amount of money in that purchase order, and we were 25 cents short, so we couldn't pay it, because there is a carryover period where you put money into POs, because you anticipate late bills, or you know they're coming and they haven't come in yet. So we didn't put it in because it was in the wrong, came in as the wrong account. It came in as water, and it should have been wastewater. So we had some money in there, but we were 25 cents short. So we need the entire amount.
Okay, so you're looking for 25 cents?
No, we're looking for $44.42 for the invoice that was missing, and 25 cents for the amount that was short paid, because we closed the
So
purchase
basically,
order.
are you saying that these 2 amounts were pretty much in the FY17 budget? And were-
They were in the carryover portion of the budget when you,
So most of this money is really, you're saying it's like less than $1 needed?
no, we need
You
We need
$44.
we need $44.67 for that one, and we have another one that So that's the explanation on why that's before you, because it was in the wrong account and it was 25 cents short. If that bill had come in at $44, we wouldn't be discussing that, but we had some money left over in that account. It just wasn't enough to cover this bill. And is that enough on that one?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. The other one, the bigger one in sewage and wastewater is, it's $1,763 for a fire door that had to be replaced. I don't think this should even be a carryover. The purchase order was open last fiscal year, but they didn't get the work done because the door they ordered didn't come in. So it came in this fiscal year, the work was done in this fiscal year, but because the PO was open in last fiscal year and closed at the end of the year, we're here to do this again. In my opinion, this shouldn't even be in here, but because we had closed the purchase order and it wasn't in the carryover period, we're back to ask for the money.
So this door's like a back order, where it's coming in.
Yeah, it's a fire
We're
door,
not
so
able
it's,
to, let's say, pay it,
you can't pay it because it was the door and the service to put the door in.
and you're
So
not able to, let's say, at the end of the year, just pay the stupid thing and get it out?
You can't pay ahead for something like that. It's a service, you can't pay until the service is performed.
All right, I guess that makes sense, so,
Yeah.
does anybody have any questions for, all right, well, we really appreciate you coming in to clear up that matter.
I have the other ones too. That's the wastewater, that's the first one, that's item one.
Okay.
Item two is a transfer of $2,450 into water. There was and again, the big item there was $1,470 for Elm Electrical. It's a bill that came in late. It's probably one that our people should have caught. It didn't come in until September, and there was a carryover purchase order, but it was closed because they didn't anticipate it coming. But somebody that works for us should have known it was coming. They knew the work was done. It was done in May, so I think they just assumed, because they don't necessarily pay attention to the purchase orders at the end of the year, that we had gotten the bill in time. But the bill came in 4 or 5 months after the work was done. So that's why that was closed. We do have a program that shows you all the purchase orders, who opened them, how much they opened them for, what was liquidated, if they were closed, and the person who opened that purchase order, if they had looked at that, would have known that that money hadn't been liquidated yet.
All right,
So
when
we
you say something's like a carryover, what does that mean?
A carryover is there's something you anticipate coming, or you know it's coming, but you're not getting it before June 30th.
Okay.
So auditing sets up a carryover period where we put money in anticipation of the bills we know that are coming in, because you have to close the books, and you,
Right in the middle of your season.
yeah, so you basically close the books, and for a week you can't spend or anything, so then they open up the carryover period, and the carryover period lasts for, maybe a month or 2 months, depending, and that's when those bills from the prior year come in and you pay them. So most of these things are because either they don't come in time, or somebody kind of drops the ball and doesn't anticipate it, but so we,
Carryovers for that period.
yeah, there's a carryover period every year.
Okay.
There has to be, because
Right.
we tell our people every year, and one of the ones that I'm going to talk about in a minute, we tell them to stop spending. Usually we tell them in the middle of May, early May, only emergencies. There's some open purchase orders that,
Right.
that you still have, chemicals, that sort of thing. Well, we tell them nothing unless it's an emergency or a necessity.
So did that 2450 end up as surplus at the end of last year for FY17?
Yeah, if there was a purchase order open, it was closed, it would go, it actually would go into the undesignated money, which we don't, isn't until the fiscal year is closed, now, which will be the end of this year. So that money won't be available. We do have an undesignated account that you'll hear about soon, because we need some items. And that can have, I've seen up to, I think this year, water's got 1.5 million in there. Stormwater has 500 something thousand. I think wastewater has maybe 300,000, 200 something thousand. But it's kind of our equivalent of the city's free cash. It's money that was budgeted and not spent, or it's excess revenue. Maybe our revenues are higher than we expect them to be. But that's basically what it is. A couple others we had in there. We had our lab. We changed office managers back in May, and the lab was just sending electronic copies. They were still sending them to the old office manager's email address. They didn't notice that until June, so there's, I think, 5 invoices that were emailed to somebody who didn't work for us anymore. And once the new office manager started getting them, she was able to pay them, but some of them got by because they just went into an old account. And we have another one, was it was one of the ones I talked about. We tell the people to stop spending. We close purchase orders because there's money encumbered in those purchase orders because we may need money in other places to get through the year. We closed account we have with our SCADA people, anticipating there would be no more work, and the person who ordered it didn't realize we had closed the account. So there was a little bit more money that had to be spent there. That's, yeah.
All right, does anybody have any other questions, or you able to keep up with all that?
You,
I'm done with that.
you get used to it after a while.
Yeah, sure. Alright, so this is one item at a time, so, can I have a motion on item 1?
Motion item 1. Transfer of $1,807.67 from the current FY18 Department of Public Works wastewater division purchase services account number ending in 5200 to the prior year FY17 Department of Public Works wastewater division purchase service account 670040052000.
Have a second? Any other discussion? Seeing none, can we vote?
Yes.
Yes. All right, so item 1 passes with favorable recommendation 3-0. I have a motion on item 2. I don't think you need to actually read it. I mean, we've already read it, so you can probably just say motion to, approve or give favorable recommendation. Item 2.
Motion to, on item 2, to approve transfer of $2,450 from the current FY18 Public Works to the FY17 Department of Public Works Water Division Purchase Service account.
Okay, the motion, second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, vote on item 2?
Yes.
Yes? So, item passes, 3-0.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, and Gina, you get item 3? Item 4, okay. All right, item 3 is just a notification from the Public Employee Retirement Administration Commission submitting the fiscal year 2019 appropriation of $10,457,590. And this, I think, is just, this is a procedural thing this is what's recommended by the trustees.
The reason this got sent here is so that you could have them come and explain it, and explain what the next 2 years are going to look like. So I think you want to table this and invite. So they weren't that, they weren't invited, explain it, they weren't invited yet. But we sent it here so that you guys could look at, this grows at 5% compound a year, and it has a significant impact on the budget, so we just wanted to let them explain it to you.
So we would have someone from the retirement board or,
The city employees that are on that board,
right?
if they come and talk about that, what it's going to look like in the next few years.
Right. And you think we have to leave this item in committee to do that?
Well, if your committee wants to look at it.
Yeah.
All right. All right. All right. Any other discussion? Somebody want to make a motion to leave the committee?
Motion to remain in committee?
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? I think none. Vote?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, motion to leave item 3 in committee, and invite appropriation of $28,750 from the PEG, it says to the PEG or PEG Access Designated Fund Balance Account to the PEG Access Full-Time Salary Account. Right, Dana, you get to speak on that, or just answer questions? Okay. All right, so this represents half the salary. So the actual salary would be $57,500 for a full year. This would be for half a year. Any questions?
Yes. So I went through, I found on the shared drive the original emails and whatnot you were sending back about the salary and whatnot. It breaks it down where it's the half year. Obviously, we're committed to this for the first year. Where's the funds? Has any funds been allocated or identified for the second half of the year?
The position is 1 year. Mr. Coles is aware it's a 1-year position. After that point, we are hoping it will go into the curriculum at the Tech Academy and will become part of the school department. Within their budget after the first year.
And then become a permanent position once the
Potentially.
So are we going to be looking to tap the PEG for FY18 for the second half of our commitment?
Correct.
Or, yeah, 49.
Correct.
So we would be looking to tap that.
Mm-hmm.
One question I do have, if it does go into the school department, is it going to be paid out of the pay going forward, or is it going to be through the school budget?
It will become part of the school budget because it would become a new curriculum at the Tech Academy.
Okay.
In the meantime, is there, because I was trying to find the job description just for my own reference, is there any overlap, duplication between the IT department and this new position created? Because media specialist is broad. So I'm just trying to figure out, if we're bringing on creating a full-time position, what are we going to see on that money?
The position is intending to work on the rest of the build-out of the facilities up at Tech. They'll be coordinating use of the facilities. They'll be working with the school department to start developing curriculum. The any of the public groups or anyone that wants to use the facilities, this position would be there to train them on the equipment, to assist with scheduling, to make sure everything's taken care of at the facility, work on contracts with the cable providers, work on purchasing any equipment that's needed, maintaining the facilities up there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or?
I believe you took some of the money from the Westfield State.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
So we're lowering the obligation of the college and giving this person some of that responsibility. That's what it
Correct.
sounded like to
Yes.
me.
Correct.
So is Pete now going to be the primary contact for things like City Hall meetings that are here and other things? Do we know that yet? Or?
The mayor has said that the connection with Westfield State will maintain, not at the level that it's at now, because some of the duties will be coming back to this new position, but there will still be some contact with Westfield State.
So are we gonna get a write-up of that, of who's doing what? Who we contact, and what's Mark St. Jean's role gonna be going forward for example?
I think for now, I did the reduction agreement. They still have the same roles and responsibilities for now. It's anticipated at some point they're going to shift some of theirs into any curriculum program's got to have an advisory component, and they're interested in continuing in that role. But right now they have the same responsibilities, but they don't have all of the burden because more of the technical. So I don't think you're going to see any change here in the short term until this starts. I think like everything, once it starts, there may be some changes, but I wouldn't anticipate anything changing from what you're going to see what happens here and who you talk to.
Okay. And then how does this interplay with the radio station? The same bodies are involved in the radio station, and that's not funded by the city. So is Pete going to be working for the radio station too? Or, you know, like he's on that radio every day for several hours. Does that take away from his time available for the city, and how does that work?
No, he's still going to have his time with the city.
9 to 5 like regular employees, or does he
Well-
have like some kind of a special deal?
Well, when you look at the duties that he may have, there may be, he's going to have night meetings, he may have people that want to use the studio at night, he may have to be there in the evening. So his time has to be
So
pretty
this is like
flexible.
35 or 37 hours?
35 hours.
35 hours, and then if he's working up there on the radio, that's overtime, it's like he was to work for Walmart. Is that the way you envision it?
Are you familiar with it?
My understanding is that his employment is going to be similar to mine, that we're allowed to have any outside employment that doesn't conflict with our city employment. So it had, or that you get permission. I think he's a mayoral person, that he would have to, somebody's going to be looking at that. You know, if I take a vacation day because I'm going to represent you, I'm allowed to do that. And I believe that he has a relationship with the university that will continue for a period of time.
Okay. Any other questions? All right.
Well, I have a follow-up question related to benefits. So, special funds can be charged for benefits. Is this one of them where the PEG account can pay for health and life and pension and all that? Can we surcharge this 25 or 30% to pay for our benefits obligation?
I haven't looked at that. I haven't been asked to look at that. I don't know how his benefits are being paid.
I think we can do that with the water and sewer and other, right, we can charge overhead to those fees. Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions on the matter?
Question from the audience?
Yes?
I don't know what that is. Is that
Well,
Lenore?
no, that's Jane from,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
Personnel.
personnel
Okay.
director.
Uh,
But if you can come up to the microphone, because it does help,
Yeah,
make your voice.
you implied, but you didn't say it, and so I'd just like to hear it on the record. You said it, that it would become all school budget. I assume you meant the money from Comcast, the P, E, G money from Comcast will be turned over to the school department. And that's what you meant by it becomes all school budget. You're not saying it becomes taxpayer money.
May I just,
Yeah.
may I, with all due respect to the chair, we're here to answer your questions. Some of what the HR director just said were her assumptions based on her conversations. She doesn't have the right to bind the city or to make something, so I would hate to have people walk out of this room and think that the mayor said something or that we said something. All we have is what we have now.
Right.
And she suggested to you that the goal was, but she's not going to have control over that. And I really think it's not fair without us having an opportunity to discuss things, to have, we're happy to answer it's our job.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, Rich, what I would say is, if you have questions, if you submit them in writing to the committee, then we could forward to the correct departments and try to get answers that way.
Yeah, sure. I mean, she mentioned the mayor. I think the mayor would like to see this done slowly and properly, so it's not something that has to be unraveled later and all kinds of confusion.
agree.
So, I mean, this money comes from Comcast and it's for public access, PEG, and that's where it should remain. And that's what I think was implied, and I just want to make sure that that's the case, is the taxpayers and shouldn't be paying for P, comma, E, comma, G, public education and government access. That's Comcast. That money should come from Comcast, not the taxpayers. We've got a big hole to dig out of, and we don't want to start spending money on frills. It's important frills, but it's a frill. Thank you.
Thank you.
One last question. Has there been a start date that's been targeted between either AC or HR?
For Mr. Coles,
Correct.
we have not scheduled anything yet because it's still going tomorrow evening. And we have to make sure we have the funding in place.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, and the rest of the committee, there will be no cross-examining of Mr. Coles tomorrow by anybody. The PAC committee will address it, but there will be no cross-examination of this gentleman who has been deemed by the interviewees as the most appropriate person for this position.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Harris. Are there any other questions, comments on this matter? Okay. So we want to make a recommendation on item 4?
I think we should hold a committee until we find out exactly what the plan is regarding next year. Because if it's gonna be funding for the schools, I wanna know how it's gonna be funded.
Well, somebody can ask tonight, maybe during his presentation.
Yeah.
All right, so there's a motion. Is there a second? Or
I guess I'd hate to hold it up just based off that, because if that's our person, you know,
I mean, we meet the last one
If
this month.
if we're gonna be, James, you know, indicated PEG is gonna fulfill, PEG FY19 is gonna fulfill the second half of the year. Once it goes to school budget, it's essentially out of our hands anyways at that point. And if the school department wants to bring him on as an employee, that's out of our hands. If it wants to stay in a position like this for reappointment after the year, then we can address it.
Yeah, it's a one-year contract, you're right.
So, I mean, it's kind of, I don't know if we should, I don't necessarily think we should stall it, because PEG is gonna fully fund the position through FY18 and 19 for the 1 year. And then after that, if the school department doesn't take action, it's gonna come right back to us anyways. So, and at that point, I mean, I don't think we should hold it up.
The motion did not.
That wasn't a motion.
Well, it was a motion, but I didn't receive a second, so. dive into
Motion
it.
to, remove from committee with a favorable outcome.
Or Portland Committee, right? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, vote on item 4?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So item 4, passing with a favorable recommendation, 3-0. All right. So, item 5. I guess Councilor Paul, yes, thank you for being here. Councilor Paul will not be here. We will have a briefing on them. A lot of the items that are on this thing, it's been recommended that we remove from committee.
You got item 5, Councilor.
You're right. Do we want to do item 5 and then go to all those afterwards? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, item 5 is a motion by Councilor Surprise and Flaherty to establish a special purpose stabilization fund in accordance with Chapter 40, Section 5B of the Mass General Laws, dedicated to the purpose of road and sidewalk repair and maintenance on city-owned roads and sidewalks, to be funded by the use of the total revenues the Westfield Local Options Meals Tax, and room occupancy tax as instituted under Mass General Law, Chapter 64L, and Chapter 64G, Section 3. Someone like that?
Sure.
You try to keep up.
Staying off with it. I have extra copies here if anybody wants them.
And what are those?
It's a memo from Department of Local Services regarding changes through the Massachusetts Municipal Modernization Act that allows cities and towns to establish special purpose stabilization funds and dedicate specific revenue sources to those funds. They actually have a memo here, as well as the entire informational guideline release I've included here. They have a memo stating that the reason that you'd want to do this is to dedicate for specific things like vehicles, for road repair, for capital expenses, buildings. So it's something the state actually encourages, and it actually dedicates that money. And to be frank, the mayor did promise to use this money for those purposes, but it's in the general fund and it can now be used for anything. So all this is trying to do is establish this fund and dedicate those funds to that purpose.
Does anyone have any questions or
Dave? No. Would what's proposed help you improve the roads and your funding source to improve the roads?
Of course,
More money is always good.
I got big plans. Hearing about them soon. Since you get the first crack at the budget, but yeah, of course, I take whatever you give us. I'll just tell my wife how to start the snow blower. I don't know how much revenue is going to be generated by that, but
So far, we've collected $415,000 from meals tax,
That's this year, right?
and we're at a pace of about $128,000 per quarter.
2028?
Yeah.
28.
It's been going up several thousand every quarter.
So we're falling short of projections, so.
No, I think the original projection was 450. We fell short the first year because we didn't start at the beginning of the year.
And that's the meals tax.
Hotel tax is not in
The hotel tax is not significant.
compared to this. No.
Correct.
So I can say that, that was my concern when we voted for this originally, was that this money ended up in the general fund. And there's been several types of, deliberations about how we can guarantee that this money will be used for roads. This passed by one vote, and the mayor stood right there and told us that this money guaranteed and he promised would be used for roads. And it just hasn't happened. And two councilors spoke to that matter just before they made their vote. They said, I'm only voting for this because the mayor stood there and promised me this money would be used for roads. Now it's in the general fund. This allows us to dedicate it to a stabilization fund, and the money can't come out of that stabilization fund without 9 votes. To me, that's a little bit more security. It does give us the flexibility to take it out if there's some other emergency. Let's say we need a fire truck or we need some trash trucks or recycling trucks, and we can get 9 votes to use it for that. We can do that. You can transfer out of the stabilization account with the appropriate number of votes. So if everybody thinks this money's going to go in there and can only be used for sidewalks that we never need, that's not the way this law is written. It tells us specifically how to get money out of one stabilization account and use it for a different purpose. And it's not easy, but it shouldn't be easy. That's the whole purpose of dedicating money.
So the funds could be removed for another purpose. with
There's a
certain
process
regard.
in here, yeah.
Right. That one.
The other question is, can we earmark the funds, and who can authorize the earmarking of the funds? And to me, this new modernization act that came through and was revised in July 2017 made it pretty clear that the legislative body is the one that puts the orders out there and initiates the order. The mayor has to sign it, or he can veto it and we can vote on it. But from our reading of the document, and
Actually,
I'm surprised
I
how
spoke to,
you are today.
I talked to James Crowley, who's an attorney with the Division of Local Services Municipal Finance Department for DOR, and he stated that there's nothing in the law preventing city council from doing this.
Right, it's it. And all the examples talk about the legislative body taking this action and putting an order out. Now, maybe there's something in our charter.
When you say in order, you're not talking about the specific
Well,
project.
there's an order to, say, earmark the money, there's an order to accept this clause of this, the state law.
Right.
Those orders can be initiated by the city council, from what the reading says and what the DOR says.
But the mayor, and working with the DPW or whatever, would be deciding the project and
Well, to
initiating.
take the money out later, yeah.
Right.
But to put the, to set
Just
up this,
putting it in.
to set the structure up, to create the stabilization fund, to accept the state law, and to earmark the funds, those
Right.
are all legislative branch actions. Then when it comes to appropriating the money later on, the mayor has to initiate the appropriation request to take the money out.
Right.
But to stick the money in, it's a legislative thing where you're binding the revenue from certain fixed sources into this fund. And DOR told us today
Right.
that that's our job, that we can do that.
All right. I have. Did I have a question?
Now, yeah, because I met with Dave last week, so he would be able to essentially use this for bodies for highway department, for equipment, for materials. He's not gonna be tied up on the uses.
Well, he has to go to the mayor and ask the mayor to give him $300,000 to fix Main Street, whatever he's gonna work on. And the mayor comes to us and asks us, and we have to get 9 votes.
Only the mayor can initiate spending, so we can.
Well, I'm saying that this isn't gonna tie him down at all by us moving this into
No, I
a
mean,
special.
that money will be used for those specific purposes, but whatever project Dave determines they need the money for is what they would use the money for.
There is a question about using stabilization money for labor that's in another part of the budget. I think that's a separate question.
Have either of you spoken with the mayor on this matter, or plan to, or?
I'm just trying to solve the problem. The problem is there's a promise made for these taxes, and it's not being fulfilled. So we're trying to find a way around that to make sure the funds are used for what they're supposed to be used for.
Right. I'm sure the mayor's gonna want to comment on.
Does legal have an opinion?
We haven't been asked for an opinion. We clearly saw it on the agenda, so we're looking at it at our staff meeting this week regarding the roles, and I'd be happy to share our thoughts with you,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman and Councilor, when we do. So we picked it up from seeing it. We, unofficially have a few other things that we would look at differently than I believe what Councilor Flaherty has done today, but I can't give you that now.
Okay.
All right.
And that, by the way,
And we appreciate you being.
I wrote big letters draft on there because I know that they have sometimes different ways of doing things. And I do, I just copied and pasted right out of the document and then put our city name in there and our fund name in there. But I know from prior experience doing the stabilization account, we did one for the OPEB and we did one for Park Square Green. What I originally created.
That would be
was
helpful if
edited.
next time you send it to us, because I'm just hearing that you've done it now.
Yeah.
And if I had it, maybe I could have been more helpful tonight. But
Right.
Well,
I'll see what you
and
have.
we didn't get it until last week, and I sent it to the L&O committee, because they're gonna get it out of here. So they have those 4 or 5 legal sample documents based on what was.
I don't want to hear about
Okay.
emails going back and forth. I don't even want to hear it. Just
I
stop
sent it,
now.
one to me, to one to him.
Serial violation of open meeting law, and then one to someone else and one to someone
No,
else.
he's the chair of L&O,
Well,
and I'm
yeah.
not on either committee, can't I send it to him?
We
Item
should
for
talk
future
sometime,
training.
because what you said last time about a bigger committee, you're not
I-
violating the
I-
open meeting law,
I didn't
that
say
wasn't
that.
accurate.
I know, I didn't say that, that was somebody else. I agree with your position. My position is that you can't have open meetings like this and hear from 10 councilors, because that violates open meeting law. That's what I interpret what he said. But anyway, I only sent it to Ralph.
Okay, I'm not here to
Right.
have that
The
conversation.
chair recognizes our Eleanor chairman.
Thank you, Ralph Figge, Illinois, Ward 2. I got a couple concerns with this. Number one is if it starts, where does it stop? All right, now we picked out roads and sidewalks. What's to prohibit the council from taking over the whole budget, the whole budgetary process, and just eliminating the mayor? I have a real issue. I am a pretty strict interpreter of the Constitution, and I do believe in the separation of powers. I know sometimes the legislature makes a law that favors them, but at the expense of the executive branch. And I do believe it's the mayor's job to do the budget. It's his job to put his foot where his mouth is. It's his job to determine where the monies that come into this city are spent. And I think that this is an attempt by the legislative body to take over that role, and I'm not a fan or a believer in that. We all have our rules and regulations and our jobs to do under the separation of powers. And even though the legislature did it and the legislature said it's okay, I'm not in agreement with that. But that doesn't carry much weight either. But my biggest concern is, okay, we do sidewalks and roads. What's to stop us from doing something else and something else and something else, to the point where all of a sudden there's no need for a mayor to do a budget because the legislature, we, the city council, have done it all. I think we have enough to do within the city council without taking on these added responsibilities that we need to do. So my position is I'm not sold on this at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, which kind of raises a question, if I can just. So, this special purpose stabilization fund, is this only to use, let's say, chapter 90 money, or,
It's not
Specific.
or any, like, local options tax?
It's, you can dedicate specific revenue sources, you can do a Prop 2.5 override and dedicate that override to it.
So,
You can allocate any funding you want to it at one time.
so in other words, Councilor Figgy's assertion is valid in that, in other words,
No, I mean, the
I mean,
state.
is this limited to certain
I
sections of
mean,
the budget?
no, there are certain things that we can do it for, certain things we can't use certain funds for. But the state gave us this ability, and many cities and towns all over the state have done this. Not just one stabilization funding, a vehicle fund for police vehicles or, DPW vehicles. And it's really, the state encourages it. I mean, this is their memo, they encourage it from February 2016 because it helps us save money for specific purposes, and things that may not get the funding they need on a regular basis. So it's not taking any power away from the mayor, it's just dedicating the money that he already promised to use for those purposes to those purposes.
It's actually best practices in a DLS document. That's one of the things that they recommend to us, is that we have funds like this, so we don't get surprised when we need to buy trash trucks or police cars or fire engines, that we set up a fund in advance for that kind of thing.
Right, and it should be up to the mayor's discretion, working with whatever the department head on those items.
Yeah.
I mean, he would be
There's nothing that
deciding.
says, for example, we can't put $50,000 a year into a fund that lets us buy a fire truck in 20 years. Right? That's a good financial management practice.
So reading the second paragraph here, that's essentially what that is allowing us to create a separate savings account
Yes.
instead of it terminating at the end of your fiscal year.
Exactly.
And actually, it is, it's invested in any interest stays in that account.
Yeah, I see that.
Right, but you're proposing right now that it would be for the purpose of road and sidewalk.
For this one.
And that purposes are locked in for, I
Right,
think,
there's gonna be
3
more.
years, and they can be changed after 3 years.
So this would sunset after 3 years?
No, it will stay unless after 3 years we can change the purpose of the fund. Or
Or
whatever.
stop the funding,
Or
stop.
stop the funding, right.
Are there any local cities or towns that you've identified that have done this?
There's a lot of towns, actually. I don't know if they've actually created it yet, but the DOR went into Southampton and did a top-to-bottom review of how they do their finances, and they recommended they actually create several stabilization funds for special purposes. So I can't tell you locally, if actually I do wish Springfield has one, I can't remember what it's for, but there are dozens of cities and towns that have done this.
And for meals tax, if you Google earmark Massachusetts meals tax, you'll find cities that have already dedicated the meals tax for other special purposes.
Yeah, I think Natick is one of them.
Oh, did they tell me to do it? Or not?
I don't know if there's something over there.
So another example that might be in the pipeline is the marijuana money, that there's a potential for more marijuana money, and maybe we want to dedicate that to a fund that helps addicts, or maybe we want to dedicate it to an educational fund or something like that. So there are things like that out there.
You want us to become a social service agency
Well,
now?
we might have, for example, a need in the health department. Maybe the cost of,
We've already built that into the
I
agreement.
know the agreement, we can't touch that one, but that's,
But we've built in that they have to pay certain amount, a minimum, and the Board of Health sets that amount every year, and it's a minimum of $15,000. We built in an additional sum in that agreement. I'm not gonna say the number because I don't recall it, but it's also gonna cover increased police.
yeah, police and.
So
and road workers.
we're allowed by that to do that, and we've done that in our one agreement that would get approved by you anyway.
And it already, I think we already approved that one.
Yes, you did.
We did.
But there are things like that that are in the realm of possibility here, and I think that's something we should be looking at. We shouldn't just assume that every new fee or tax we charge is gonna go to the general fund that can be used for anything, any purpose. You know, if we're increasing somebody's tax burden or fees, we might as well dedicate those to some new service for them, so that they see what they're getting for their money.
The chair recognizes the council president.
Thank you. My suggestion here, my comment is that there hasn't been any discussion with the mayor directly. I know the Councilor Allie and I met briefly yesterday with the mayor and touched on this a little bit, but I think it might be a good idea to have a discussion with him regarding this before we just, push through with it. Councilor Flaherty, I understand where you're coming from, and I know that money's was dedicated for this, but I think it's a good idea to have a conversation with the mayor about this, to see what works. It's communication.
I don't see it's a wrong thing, but we're a separate body of government, and I don't think that.
Well, we're taking on a lot of responsibilities for the other side of the government when we're doing these things too, even though you've got the documentation there. I think you need to, we still need to be able to work together. Isn't that the point of the whole thing?
It is, but we don't have to agree on everything, and we don't have to collaborate on everything. We can take initiatives just like he can take initiatives. Like he hired, a couple bodies that work directly for him. We didn't get involved in that, and that's perfectly fine. That's the separation of powers. And at the state house, the governor doesn't get to tell the House and Senate what they can do. And in Washington, Trump doesn't get to tell the House and Senate what they can do.
Well, that's my suggestion. My suggestion would be to have the discussion before we just push forward.
I guess to tie into that, the 1.57 million that was approved took some money from roads. And the mayor indicated that there was gonna be, meals money that was gonna replace that in the spring. David, you've spoken with the mayor about what he's gonna fund you, what you're looking at in the spring for meals money, or just overall funds, is there gonna be a large chunk to replace it?
Until we know what's available, we've talked about doing some projects, but until we know what's available, it's not really any point in discussing that, because I don't know what's going to be available. Keep in mind that, snow and ice, for example, we budget $400,000. Last year was $1.6 million. So we don't know how much money that money's going to be available.
See, this is exactly why it's a good idea to dedicate money for those specific purposes, because the budget was cut, now we don't know how much is going to be put back in. If we have it,
That's why
it allows us to plan ahead. And it gives us a stable base to actually start planning to fix some of these roads. We went up heard what the public said during the election, they wanted the roads fixed. This is what we're doing.
And it was part of the decision by some councilors to actually go for it. We did take the vote, and they were clear on that, and some of them took heat for voting for it, but they voted for it, and with the expectation that money would go to the roads. So,
I can tell you, if it's not going to the roads, I'm going to put a motion out to rescind the meals tax before the end of the year. There's a timeline, we can do it. As long as we get it out in that, quarter before the end of the year, we can shut off meals tax money on July 1st. And I don't have any problem doing that, because we're being sold something and getting something else. And
well,
that's the way I look at it.
I'd like to echo Council Beltrami in that, let's try to work with the mayor on this. Let's see what we can work to get, and move forward in that vein.
Motion to remain in committee until the next meeting.
Second.
Okay, that's it for council.
Right.
we're already, we're interested. All right, so item 6 was a briefing by Councilor Flaherty and Paul, from the Finance Committee, and we haven't, you wanna,
You guys asked me to come and answer questions, and I'll answer anything you want, right?
well, we appreciate you being here. What I'm gonna do is, item 7, is just on here, but it's, and I'm gonna ask that it just remain in committee.
So you want to skip 6 or?
We're gonna skip 6
For now? Come back?
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't know how that was gonna flow, so
All right.
but I didn't wanna hold these folks up as well. So, item 7 was my motion, going back to February of 2016. And there's a lot of, conversations happened in the last 2 years regarding the Westfield gas and electric, ILOT payment. Basically, what I want to do is I want to just leave that in committee, as an item. And we can discuss that deed, but that would remain in committee.
No motion to remain in committee?
Yep. We have a second? Any other discussion? All right, we have a vote on item 7. Huh?
You guys have to vote. You have to vote as well.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. All right, so item 8 is a motion by Councilor Flaherty regarding the fee adjustments for FY17. This was referred to finance, I believe all know, and,
Yes, I think you can take it out, the date is expired, and we did receive the information.
so is there a motion to remove from committee without action?
Motion to remove from committee without action.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Just a question, do we get fee adjustments from every department?
No, a lot of them,
Right, so
Well,
it's because it's time sensitive?
it said FY17, yeah.
Okay.
so because it's FY17, we're just gonna remove it. All right.
We can bring it back for other ones, but, we did get a bunch of them, and we got them in time.
I don't remember seeing one come through Illinois, and that was Jay's.
And we had clerk's office come through, we had building department.
It hasn't come to Illinois, I think you guys took it to the floor and approved it, so, so much for procedure.
All right. Did you guys want that one?
No?
We second it.
Second, so, yeah, so, no discussion, we'll vote on item 8.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So, item 8 can be removed from committee without action. Item number 9 is appropriation of $250,000 from the community preservation and designated account to the CPA Hotel Bismarck facade account. And Council Flaherty recommending that we remove that because those funds were already,
It's a duplicate. We already voted.
we already voted that. Okay,
So remove committee without no action.
okay, second?
Second.
All right, any other discussion on this item? All right, vote?
Yes.
Yes. All right, so item 9 is removed from committee without action. Item number 10 is motion,
We already received it, so we can take it out with no action.
you did receive this
It's on the council share.
under the date of January 19th?
Back, in 2017, they provided a report that showed the revenues and expenses related to the contrast.
Okay, so
I don't know where it is on the share, but it's back in that time frame.
this is requesting that the audit department provide the finance committee prior to February 10th, 3-year history of revenues related to the finance, Comcast license and franchise fees. All right. So, can I have a motion?
Motion to remove from committee without action.
Second.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So, item number 10 is removed from our committee without action. Item number 11 is a motion by Council Flaherty for a resolution. This is a 3-part trilogy here. The first part FERCog was requesting a ballot question, borrowing $20 million, the rebuilding and repaving of sidewalks.
So 11, 12, 13, I think they can be taken out because of the.
In mass, right?
They were all due for the 2017 ballot, and we had a discussion in finance, the prior finance committee, about different ways to solve this problem. One of them happens to be the stabilization plan we're taking right now, but there were other things that we looked at for being able to fund these roads. So these three, 11, 12, 13 are no longer needed.
Okay, so I have a motion to remove items 11, 12, and 13 from committee.
I think we have to vote on them separately.
Do we?
Motion to remove item 12 from committee with no action.
We're still on 11.
11 then.
All right, so let's put this up.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none. Vote?
Yes.
Yes. Item 11 is removed from committee without action. Item 12. And a motion to remove.
Motion to remove item 12 from committee with no action.
Second.
The second, any discussion?
No.
Seeing none.
Yes.
Vote? Yes. Yes. Item 12 is removed from committee without action. Item 13. And a motion to remove that from committee.
Motion to remove item 13 from committee with no action.
Second.
We have a second, any discussion? Seeing none.
Yes.
Yes.
Vote. Already been taken, so 3, yes. All right.
Motion to remove item 14 from committee with no action. Yes, we're in 12, 13 and 14.
You're on 14 now.
So item 14, we did vote this in council, we sent it to finance committee. As you saw back in the fall, the mayor has agreed to do some of this stuff, and he's throwing $600,000 in OPEB funds right now, I believe, and another 600 in the springtime, something like that. 1 month, I believe it's 1 month, cable holiday, premium holiday.
All right, so this is the motion to file back in October.
This was asking to throw 100% in there. We didn't get 100%, but we got something.
Okay.
And it's also a dated thing, so.
All right.
So motion to remove item 14 from committee with no action.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No.
Seeing none. Vote?
Yes.
Yes. So item 14 is removed from committee. All right. We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Huh? We can. Let's hold item. So we're going to hold item 6.
Item 6, sorry.
So item 6.
Motion to hold item 6 from committee.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, vote to hold item 6 in committee?
Second.
Yes. Yes. Okay, thank you.
And now Casey 6.
I know,
Nick, want to just turn that camera off? Okay. Thank you.